All right, and we're live, and let's just make sure this going out okay on the old YouTubes. Come on, come on. There we go. Had to make sure I'm not robot or any crap like that. Alrighty, so, and I know, folks, I know my streaming schedule is all over the place. You know, it's early mornings, afternoons, early evenings, sometimes late nights. It's all over the place. I know. So, um, this is not a big Saturday show that will come back on the 27th. Not not this week, not right now. So, and of course the dog starts fucking whining in the background as soon as I start streaming. That's when he wakes up. Today, 1 year anniversary of the Trump apocalypse. Well, I guess you could call the election a Trump apocalypse, but Trump being sworn in. Trump's been president for 1 year now. I did a stream on Forney's channel talking about the first year, how it went. I think it's a success so far. It's had rough spots, but all in all, I'm quite happy with how things have turned out here for this first year. There's a lot of progress made, even right now with the government shutdown. Now, by the way, government shutdown. I think everyone is in this channel. I think everyone who listens to this is smart enough to know this, but government shutdowns aren't government shutdowns. What is it, like 3% of the government shuts down? It's stupid. Non-essential government stuff shuts down. It's retarded. And I'm gonna beat that dog's ass. You're gonna go be an outside dog like them Sarah McLachlan commercial dogs. Anyways, government shuts down. It's a misnomer. They're big nothings. In the past, Democrats have been able to throw them directly at the feet of Republicans, make it seem like their fault, even when it's not. It's not happening this time. This is the Schumer shutdown. So I understand that was one of the top hashtags on Twitter. Even now, after Twitter's gotten rid of everyone to the left, to the right of Karl Marx, Schumer shutdown is one of the top hashtags on there. And why did the Democrats shut down the government? To defend illegal aliens. You see the memes getting passed around where it's like soldiers, and it's like, Democrats want to deny them their paycheck to support these guys, and it's like, shitball fucking, beaners waving Mexican flags, flipping the middle finger. This is bad optics for them. This is bad. And I mentioned on Forney stream, and I mean, look, we've all overplayed the Trump 4D chess meme and all. But he's a hell of a negotiator, and he is good at manipulating people. And, not to make it sound like he's playing ninth dimensional Candyland on us, but he really did, like the DACA stuff where he was kind of, everybody started panic. Oh, he's backpedaling in the DACA stuff. What did Trump do? He basically went out there and he's like, yeah, we can maybe work on this DACA stuff and maybe legalizing some of these DACA guys, but I got to get my wall. I got to get my enforcement first. Oh, you don't want to give me my wall? Well, I mean, I tried to work with you, but we just can't work with you people. I don't know he made it their fault. And I don't think he was ever serious about about giving them what they want on the DACA. I think he was pulling their typical stunt of give me what I want, then we'll talk about getting what you want. And then, once I get what I want, we're going to stop talking about it, kind of thing. I think he was pulling that stunt, which it's fine. Somebody says, too bad the kids that play on my block don't have any dreams that Democrats want to fight for. Yeah, But this looks bad on the Democrats. This is not, especially within the last few years, how much they run their mouth about how apocalyptically bad government shutdowns are. And then for them to do it on behalf of, I mean, let's be real, invaders. This couldn't look worse on them. You know, the handful of people that this might appeal to, or people that were already going to vote for him anyways. But that fabled undecided voter or whatever, no. He's they're not going to fly. It's not going to fly with them. This was and I mean, 1 year anniversary, and Trump's making him look like a fool still. It's been a pretty good year. You know, is Trump perfect? No. Is it, you know, is he even enough? You know, is this even, or is it too little, too late? I don't know. Time will tell. But it's certainly all a step in the right direction. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see on that. What the hell else do I want to talk about? Something else I want to start touching on. Shit, I blanked on. Oh, the NES maker. That's what I want to talk about. So, switching topics, something a lot lighter. It was a few years ago. It was November 2016, actually. I went out to the Retro Game Con up in Syracuse, New York. I've been out there too, I think in 14, 2 years prior. If I have the money, I'd like to go this year. It's always in November. It's a great show. I really love it. But I've seen like Angry Video Game Nerd at that show before. I've actually seen him at another show in New Jersey too. I've seen Pat the NES Punk. I've seen the gaming historian guy there. I've had Angry Video Game Nerd sign 2 different NES games over the course of 2 different cons. My Nightmare on Elm Street for the NES and my Ninja Turtles for the NES. Pat the NES Punk, I had him sign that big NES guidebook that he put out. Anyways, when I was there back in 16, we're looking through like the cons and not the con, the panels. My buddy and I that I was up there with, and we were waiting on one panel, and it was like a half an hour away, and you know I'd already gone through the show and you know seen everything there was up there, bought some stuff, you know, had some people sign some stuff, shook some hands of some gaming historian, you know, who went up to him, shook his hand, said, "Love your videos, man. Keep up the good work," that kind of thing. So we end up in this. I can't remember the guy's name off the top of my head. I'd have to look it up. But anyways, the guy, he's screening this documentary called 8-Bit Heroes, which I guess he had kickstarted. He wanted it. Basically, the story of this was he wanted to make a game for the NES. Had been, you know, it was a dream since he was a kid. He decided to dust it off and make it a reality. He's making a game, Mystic Searches, which is this Zelda-like adventure game, kind of a personal story of his, sort of. I mean, you know, the main character is a musician like him, whatever. It looks like a cute little adventure game. I don't know if it's available yet or not, but he's actually selling them on NES cards. Well, he runs across the problem of programming for the NES is insane. The NES has shockingly low amounts of memory. In fact, I've heard I've seen memes that say like, you know, a JPEG screenshot from Super Mario Brothers is more data than Super Mario Brothers itself. I've seen that passed around. I don't know if that's true. I'm not a programmer. It's pretty fucking astonishing if it is. But I do know the NES had shockingly low memory. That any of these games exist on the NES is amazing. So he's trying to program this fucking game from scratch, and he just runs across like, you know, memory limitations. He can't do shit. So him and I guess a programmer buddy, they come up with this program that allows them to very easily make an NES game. They call it the NES Maker, and now they're kickstarting the NES Maker. And I mean, I ain't got no fucking money right now. But if I had the money, I'd probably back this. And I don't even really have interest in making an NES game. I just like the fact that this exists. It's already got the adventure game type mode, the top down Zelda-esque thing. It's going to have a platformer mode and like a shooter mode and a brawler mode, and it's basically really, I don't know how to describe it. It's just like really, really easy way to put your art assets in, to just very simply make a game that runs on an NES, cartridge. It's a really cool thing. I like the fact that it exists. I like that the NES isn't a lost art. That making games for that isn't a lost art form. And I'd probably support the Kickstarter if I was able. And I mean, and it's, you're not really worried about a Mighty Number 9 fucking disaster, or Ouya fucking disaster, or what, I don't know, other Kickstarters. What else? Ouya, I guess Ukulele is mixed reviews. I mean, you're not worried about something like that, because this man has already basically made a video game using this engine. He's already, had a Kickstarter where he funded a, that documentary of him making the game plus the game and whatnot. So, he's already done this. He's already proven himself. So I think it's a worthwhile Kickstarter support if you're at all into retro games. And it's something very cool I want to see happen. So yeah, check that out if you haven't. Pat the NES Punk just put out a video. He does a podcast with his buddy Ian, who I actually think is kind of a faggot. But anyways, his buddy Ian and them do this podcast, and they put the snippets of it up on YouTube, individual topics. And there's a part of them talking about the NES Maker thing. And it sounds really cool. I would recommend checking that Kickstarter out if you're at all into retro games. And I like the idea that it opens up making NES games to people that just, they don't know how to you don't have to know how to program. If you are maybe just a guy who, maybe you got a musician buddy that can do chiptune music, and you're good at working with pixel art or something. And you guys got a game you want to see happen, but you can't program to save your soul. This is a pretty cool thing. Hey, we got Artistic Layman hopping in here.
Hey everybody, how you doing?
Good to have you. I was just talking about the NES Maker Kickstarter. I don't know if you heard of this, but
how's it going?
But yeah, basically this guy's putting this Kickstarter up for this program. He wanted to make an NES game, started making it, realized what a pain in the ass the NES is to program for. So his programming buddies develop a tool that made it easy, and he's basically now going to market this tool, this program, this essentially game editing system for making NES games. I think it's very worthwhile Kickstarter support, and as I said before, he has had successful Kickstarters before. The 8-Bit Heroes Kickstarter. Yeah, I think it's worth supporting. This is not going to be another Mighty Number 9 disaster. So yeah, I think it's something to support. So what else we got to talk about? I guess they released the memo shit. It's so basically basically there's proof that Obama illegally spied on Trump in the election. That just needs to be thrown out there. As I understand it, it's that when even Lindsey Graham is looking at it and saying this is horrible. Never Trumper Lindsey Graham. So in some ways you could argue maybe this shutdown stuff is almost a distraction, but.
Oh, has the government been shut down since yesterday?
Oh yeah, government's in the shutdown mode, which doesn't really affect anything. But as I said, this is entirely on Schumer. This is Schumer's shutdown. This is the Democrats shut down the government, and remember the Democrats always talk about how shutting down the government is the worst thing in the world, and the Democrats shut down the government to defend illegal aliens. This could not look worse for them, and good. So he says, hey, Bechtloff, talk about Movie Bob's latest rant. Oh, yeah, Movie Bob was on Twitter the other day about, talking about Trump supporters. He goes, these people are not people. And it's like, and I watched that video by Easy Peasy talking about Movie Bob and what this fucking delusional asshole who thinks, he's the Ubermensch and he's going to get rid of all the inferior people. First of all, it's this nerd fucking, basically Movie Bob's a nerd who thinks he's super smart. And all those dumb jocks are oppressing him and stuff, which he's not that fucking smart, okay? By his own admission, he did terrible in school, and I do realize smart people sometimes do terrible in school. School's built for dumb people. But, you read his book, he can't fucking spell. He has no concept of grammar. You listen to it, he's not as smart as he thinks he is. He is probably above average intelligence, and that's it. He's basically midwit. He's slightly above average. He thinks he's a fucking genius, though. He thinks he's the Ubermensch, and it's unreal to see this. Bob Chipman is an obese, diabetic, I guess at this point, 36, 37-year-old, probably virgin, who will die alone and unloved and unmourned, probably within a decade from diabetes-related complications. That is who Bob Chipman is. And despite that, he believes himself to be some sort of Ubermensch. And the irony is, if he ever got the authoritarian government he fantasizes about, his fat, worthless man-child ass would be the first to be put up against the wall. To be lined up against the wall. Because what the fuck kind of cog in a machine is Bob Chipman? This man has never worked a day in his life. This man can't work. Couldn't do it. You think this man could swing a hammer to save his fucking soul? Movie Bob is an absolutely remarkably evil man. And the only thing that keeps him from being more dangerous is that he's so evil, he's utterly pathetic. He's so devoid of virtue that it makes him incredibly weak in both body and mind and will. So he just sits on the internet screaming his impotent rage to an ever-shrinking audience.
And it's kind of sad how far he's gone since then. I mean, I was a former Movie Bob fan, and it's just so. I mean, he just cannot improve himself. He just will not improve himself, and it's just.
Well, I mean, why should he? He's the Ubermensch, don't you know? He's better than you.
It's kind of like how Spoonie fans feel about Spoonie, except I've never given $1 to Movie Bob.
He didn't used to be this bad. He's gotten worse and worse and worse. he's sad. He's the Jeb Bush of YouTube. You want to feel bad for him
Please clap.
until you realize what a reprehensible shithead he is. Yeah, Movie Bob is, as I said, he has a remarkably. Now, don't get me wrong. Everyone should study Movie Bob. Movie Bob, you should watch his videos, especially the Game Over Eater episode 100. I'm sorry, the Game Over Thinker episode 100. That above all of them, that is a window into his madness. And you should watch his Twitter and shit. And yeah, you should definitely do that. Because he's a cautionary tale. Oh, you see, we got the wheel of hate here. We could spin the wheel of hate if I want to rant on about something else. But yeah, that's the deal. Yeah, there it is. The wheel of hate, folks. That's what we'll be spinning when I don't know what else to talk about. As we can see here, we got Movie Bob. I'll go through them as I go. We got Movie Bob. We got Darkside Phil, Atheist, Amish, the alt-right. We got Spoonie. We got Baby Boomers. We got Catholicism. We got Libertarians. I want to differentiate that from libertarians. And we got neo-pagans. So that'll be the wheel of hate. We'll spin that once in a while when I don't know what to rant about. See where it lands. But yeah, fuck Movie Bob. I mean, it's funny. I wish Mr. Medicare would do a good takedown video on him. And when I had him on the channel, I was like, you ever think of doing a video on Movie Bob? And he just rants on he starts talking about how Movie Bob tried to get that teenager thrown in jail for hurting some communist feelings on the internet. And he just goes, fuck Movie Bob. I hope Movie Bob like starts a fight with Medicare or something online. That would be fucking hilarious.
Oh, and I saw Medicare rip on Sargon, but Movie Bob is just so much more material to rip on with. He would not survive.
I mean, it really is amazing. Like Bob Chipman thinks he's better than you, and look at Bob Chipman. Look at Bob Chipman.
That's an older picture of him.
His fucking family doesn't want to be around him. Read his fucking book. I don't recommend putting money in his pocket because that only enables this piece of shit. So I'm not like trying to tell everybody go get his book because I don't want to see sales go up in his book. But there's places to get it for free. I think like Blackface Kermit put it up for free or something, like the whole thing somewhere. Read his fucking book. And because this book on Mario 3 that he does is actually his fucking autobiography. And it's pathetic. It is utterly pathetic. First of all, there's no mention of a girlfriend anywhere in it. I can't help but notice that. Don't you try and tell me Movie Bob's the kind of guy who'd play that shit close to the vest. But like at one point he talks about how like when he was living at home still, which he did up until he was 31, was the first time he ever moved out of his parents' house. Okay. When he was living at home still, he would be playing, he'd go out and sit in his car and play Game Boy during like the mid 2000s because his family couldn't stand to be around him. That's Bob Chipman.
The only thing I ever saw from his book was this little section of it where he equates the release of the announced release of Super Mario Brothers 3 as akin to something as astonishingly tragic or impressive as 9/11 or the Kennedy assassination.
Yes, he claims that the when they first revealed Super Mario Brothers 3 in that the Wizard movie, which when I was a kid, as much as I was into Nintendo, I didn't even know the Wizard was a thing until like the mid 2000s. I'd never heard of that movie. I just, heard of Mario 3, coming out through like commercials or something. But when they first premiered Mario 3 and the Wizard, Movie Bob claims that reveal is to his generation what JFK assassination was to his parents, or 9/11 was to kids years later. Are you fucking kidding me? And then he talks about like the console wars were his own personal Vietnam and shit like that. And it doesn't read like some sort of jokey hyperbole. It reads like I don't know how to describe it, man. It's
Although, if you are obsessed with video games, as I might have been at my age, I could see Bob's perspective. I do remember images of the Wizard video movie. Like I saw hints of the Power Glove and video games. I thought, oh, this could be interesting. And the thing that always sucks, well, although intermittently between the boring traveling the streets images of going to the destination where the games are. I thought, oh, there's some cool stuff, and then in this whole scene of the playing the video games, like this huge competition with confetti and all this stuff flying all over the place, and the kids screaming at the hero, "Get the star, get the stars."
I would argue that console wars back in the day were sort of like the kid equivalent of sports ball. You know what I mean? Like that's how emotionally invested some of us were in it, but it wasn't a real war, motherfucker. Okay.
I guess this is his his personal equivalent of trying to make a great historical narrative. In the same way feminists talk about suffrage.
As I said, he is a remarkably evil man. But he's so evil, he's not really that dangerous. That's the interesting thing about him. It's like, he's so evil, it makes him just pathetic. Because, the most evil man in the world isn't somebody leading an army that's, leaving death, destruction, and carnage in its wake. The most evil man in the world is in a basement, like jerking off to like, midget granny tranny porn or something, and eating Nutella out of the fucking jar. That's the interesting thing about evil, because see the guy leading the army, he has virtue about him. He has discipline. He's obviously able to inspire large numbers of people. He's obviously good to them. He often the most dangerous men are men of great virtue, but with one very fatal bent about them. You know what I mean? Whereas interestingly enough, the more reprehensible shitbag people, the more nearly irredeemable human beings are often not that fucking dangerous. Now, often, if you get enough of them together, they can be dangerous, obviously. They can be dangerous in mass. But yeah, Bob Chipman's never going to hurt anybody. That's the interesting thing about him. He lacks the ability. He would if he could. If he had the ability, he would, he'd probably, slaughter 90% of the human race with a boner in his pants about it. And interestingly enough, he'd slaughter the better 90%. That would be the interesting thing about him.
Surely he would keep all the women to himself.
I don't even know if he's interested in women anymore. He's so removed from it at this point. He's almost made himself asexual. He's eaten that much fucking soy.
Let's see. What does Movie Bub look like these days? I'll go look up his newest appear video.
He dresses like Leisure Suit Larry in his fucking videos last I saw, which is really weird.
Nintendo Labo debut ad.
Oh, that's kind of an interesting. I haven't heard his take on it, but that's kind of interesting. This Nintendo Labo thing, where it's this kind of interactive cardboard paper craft type game, right? And everybody complains that it's so expensive, but I've talked to people that are into this sort of arts and crafts, paper craft stuff, and for a high-end cardboard stamped out that intricately, it's really not that expensive. And I mean, it's not something I'm interested in, but I don't get the hate about it because it's like, if people are into that sort of paper craft, arts and craftsy shit, I mean, and it's certainly good intellectual exercise for kids and shit. I don't get the hate about it. But again, it's that kind of type of gamer where it's like they want to take any excuse to say Nintendo is for kids. I'm the mature gamer. Like, get the fuck out of here, man. And interestingly enough, there's so much, like, as much as people are shitting on it, a lot of people are going crazy about it and think it looks awesome. And in fact, I guess Nintendo's stock actually went up in response to the excitement over that thing. Again, it's not something I want, but I can understand people being excited about it.
Bob's newest movie video, or his one before this one, is called "In Bob We Trust: Why the Last Jedi is a Love Letter to Star Wars Fans."
Oh, you gotta be fucking kidding me, man!
I haven't watched the video yet, but it does seem that he's trying to suggest that there's actually something deeper going on in the creation of The Last Jedi than the movie would like us to think.
A love letter to Star Wars fans. Look, I've never particularly liked Star Wars that much. The original trilogy is good. I don't understand how people are this fucking into this franchise. It's not that interesting. That said, though, by all accounts, The Last Jedi is, raping the dead corpse of Star Wars. It's not a love letter to it. You fat fucking cuck. See, this is him just desperate to fucking, this SJW horseshit affair is actually all about, somebody says, did you see Wonder Woman? Yeah, I saw the movie? Yeah, I saw it. I've talked about it numerous times on here. It was a great movie. It's probably one of the greatest DC live action movies ever made. I think I'd put it in the top 5 easily, maybe in the top 3. And I mean, I'm not talking about the DC Universe movies currently. I'm talking about the DC live action movies ever. I think, like, hell, Michael Keaton's Batman and Green Lantern are the only ones I like as much. And yeah, I know I like Green Lantern. It's a great fucking movie. I don't understand why people hate it. It's one of DC's best.
DC by comparison. Although I guess,
well, no, it's not my favorite comic book movie ever. But it's probably one of my favorite DC movies. I mean, I'll say this, it's better than any Superman movie. It's better than Justice League. I haven't even seen Justice League. I feel confident in saying that. It's fucking bad. And I know, you haven't seen it. You can't talk bullshit. I've seen enough. Hell, I mean, like, honestly, I think my top 5 DC movies, and I haven't even put them in order in my head. So this is in no particular order. My top 5 live action DC movies: Michael Keaton's Batman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Watchmen, and Jonah Hex. I like Jonah Hex. It's a pretty good fucking movie. And now people are like, oh, what about Dark Knight? Fuck Dark Knight. Fuck Dark Knight. All right. You know what? Fuck the Nolan Batman movies. All right. The more I watch them, the less I like them. And don't get me wrong. Each and every one of them, the first 2 I loved when I first saw. The third one's a fucking mess. I think we all know that. But the first 2 I loved them when I saw. I can barely get through Batman Begins at this point. And fucking Dark Knight, it's like, yeah, every time Heath Ledger is on screen, the movie's fucking fantastic. The rest of it, it's like, whatever. And then Batman, Dark Knight 3 with fucking, you're a big guy for you shit. That movie's a fucking mess, all right? And you know what the problem with the Nolan movies are? They're not fucking Batman movies. That's the biggest problem with them. They are trying so desperately. They are so ashamed of the source material. Nolan is so ashamed of the fact that he's making Batman movies. The perfect example of this, because we got to go for the realism in giant fucking air quotes, because it's still a Batman movie. It's not fucking realistic, okay? We got to go for the realism, right? So this is how realism fucked that franchise, that movie series. in part 3, we can't even have Catwoman. You notice nowhere in there is she called Catwoman. She's never in a fucking Catwoman costume. The closest we get is her night vision goggles flip up at one point. It kind of looks like cat ears. That's the closest we get to Selena Kyle being Catwoman. Because we can't have her be Catwoman. Because that might actually be fucking fun. No, instead, she's just got to be plain old Selena Kyle. Right? Well, okay, all for the sake of quote-unquote realism. And how realistic is this movie, you might add? Well, when Batman gets his back broken, he gets all better from ancient Chinese secret. That's how fucking realistic this movie is. Okay, don't tell me it's fucking realistic. All the realism did was suck the fucking fun out of these movies. Guess what? I want fucking Catwoman in my Batman movie. I want fucking Batman in my Batman movie. All right? I want Batman to be fighting some fucking supervillains in my fucking Batman movie. I don't want up its own ass cop drama that sometimes briefly has Batman in it. That's from the porn parody, isn't it?
Catwoman Selena Kyle by Hot Toys.
No, what's on there right now? It's what's your leg spread? That's got to be from the porn parody.
Let's see. Where to get this from?
Because you know why? Because it looks more like Catwoman than the actual movie. That's how you can tell it's. That's how you can tell it's from the porn parody.
No, apparently there's just an actress posing. There's someone else posing in the outfit.
Yeah, so like I said, you know what? Top 5 DC movies in no particular order: Michael Keaton's Batman, Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, Watchmen, Jonah fucking Hex. I'll put Jonah Hex above the fucking Nolan movies. And what I mean by that, you could say, well, maybe Dark Knight's technically a better movie. Didn't it win an Oscar or some shit? I don't know. Who fuck cares? Fuck the Oscars. You know what? If it's like, hey, let's watch a movie, and you go over to my DVD rack and you pull out Dark Knight and you pull out Jonah Hex and you're like, which one would you rather watch? I'm going with Jonah Hex all day, every day. It's more fun. It's more of a movie. Because you know what Jonah Hex is? It's a fucking outlandish cowboy movie with pseudo sci-fi elements to it. Because don't forget, Jonah Hex is an actual part of the DC universe. Like, that's both Marvel and DC have cowboy characters that existed in Old West times as part of their canon. That's the interesting thing about them. And Jonah Hex is one such character. Jonah Hex is, he existed in the DC universe's, Old West. Because a lot of people wouldn't even realize that's a DC movie if they're not, big comic book dork like me.
The first time I saw Jonah Hex was in that Batman and flashback episode.
In fact, there's actually there's like some sort of yellow meteor with some sort of power or something to it that they're powering these sci-fi weapons and Jonah Hex with. And I kept joking with my buddy when we were seeing it. I'm like, what is that, yellow kryptonite? But yeah, I rather watch Jonah Hex, man. I don't want to fucking watch a Nolan movie. It's like, do you have a cut where I can just watch the Heath Ledger scenes? I'll watch that. I'll go on YouTube and just search like Heath Ledger Joker scenes. That way I don't have to sit there for 3 fucking hours. And Watchmen was pretty damn good. In fact, Watchmen is in some ways better than the book. The ending's better.
Oh, much better.
Yeah. I know Alan Moore is still mad because he didn't read a contract right. But, that's not my fucking problem, Alan. By the way, if you haven't ever heard this story, this is why Alan Moore is mad at DC for quote-unquote stealing Watchmen. Let's tell a complete story here. So, back in the 80s, DC bought a bunch of superheroes that belonged to a comic company called Charleston. And among these heroes were characters like The Question, Blue Beetle, Captain Atom, and a bunch of others. And Alan Moore approached DC and said, I got an idea for a story with these characters called Who Killed the Peacemaker? The Peacemaker is who the comedian was based off of. And DC says, well, you know what? We don't really we kind of had other plans for these characters. We were going to fold them into the regular universe, and then Alan Moore comes back with he had made his own characters as kind of homages to those characters, quote unquote, or slash ripoffs, depending on how you look at it. And he had reworked the story into Watchmen, right? He had changed the characters into original characters and reworked it into Watchmen. And he said, now here's the thing, though. At this point, these are his characters. He can do whatever he wants with them at this point. And he didn't have to go to DC with it. I believe Dark Horse existed at the time. And Dark Horse, everything Dark Horse publishes is licensed or creator-owned. Dark Horse doesn't own a fucking thing. Everything they publish is some sort of licensed property, like, say, Aliens and Predator, or back in the day, Star Wars. Or it's some sort of creator-owned series, like Mark Miller's Sin City, for example. And I'm pretty sure Dark Horse existed back then. I could be wrong, but I swear Dark Horse was a thing in 1986. Or he could have self-published. I mean, shit, the Eastman and Lloyd were having tremendous success self-publishing the Ninja Turtles at the time. So he could have taken this somewhere where he would have retained complete rights. But he didn't want to do that. He wanted to get that immediate money up front and take it to DC. And DC wrote a contract that said, so long as Watchmen remains in print, we retain the rights to these characters. Well, guess what, motherfucker? Any given time, you go to a bookstore, there's a Watchmen trade paperback on the shelf. Shock among shock, Mr. Moore. It turns out you weren't smarter than the lawyers working for DC and Warner Brothers. Once again, Alan, you're not as smart as you think you are. If you were, you would have had a decent ending to Watchmen that wasn't something you ripped out of an Outer Limits episode that didn't even fit the story. I like a lot of Alan Moore's writing. I really do. And notice I said like. I didn't say love. I like a lot of Alan Moore's writing. Watchmen is a good read. It's not the end-all, be-all of superhero comics, but it's a good read. The Killing Joke is a good read. It's not the end-all, be-all of Batman, but it's a good read. His Swamp Thing stuff is pretty good. He did a couple good superhero or Superman stories. He's a decent writer. He's not as good as he thinks he is. And he had not been done wrong by DC. Okay? DC treated him fairly. But, you know, he's a secret king, and if he ever loses, it's because, you know, things were unfair. Fuck Alan Moore. On a personal level, fuck Alan Moore. Made bad things happen to him. Let's see. What we got going on in chat here? People arguing about Roosh and Mike Enoch, and I don't want to talk about Mike Enoch. Come on. I mean, I just talked about some jackass who was up his own ass. Do I have to move on to another one? Hell, I've been talking about nothing but shitheads who are up their own ass this whole live stream. Do I have to?
Without the need of the hate wheel, I might add.
Going to the chat. Let's see what we got. People arguing with each other. So he says game is mostly BS. No, I don't particularly like that. Bechtloff, stop posting porn. Never.
But always tasteful, of course.
Yeah, we're very, very tasteful here. Let's see. So he says Batman is supposed to be dark that is different than realistic. Yeah, no shit. I mean, one of Batman's biggest villains is a fucking shape-shifting mud monster. It's not... In fact, in the animated series, one of the darkest, most fucked up stories involved Clayface. It was in the 4th season when they had the new Robin, the younger Robin, Tim Drake. There's like a story where he meets like some girl. He saves her from something. I can't remember what the hell happened. but he kind of sparks up this thing, right? And then like Clayface is chasing this girl, right? And Robin's like defending her from Clayface. And the reason he's chasing her is that she's actually part of Clayface. And what happened was Clayface was like really weak and he was in the sewers and all. And he sent out like part of himself in the form of this little girl. But because he was so weak, that part of himself lost its memory and started thinking it was this little girl, right? So Robin's trying to defend her because she doesn't want to go back to being part of Clayface. She's almost got her own identity at this point. And Clayface finally does absorb her back. And Robin's like, throwing like acid bombs at him, screaming like, let her go. And he's like, I can't. It's like she's just part of me again. It was just really kind of like, tug at your heartstrings kind of story and shit, and they get like Clayface contained in some containment unit or something, and they're talking about like, the charges are this, that, and the other thing, and Robin's saying like you should add murder to it. And again, that's kind of a really kind of dark fucking story, but it's not realistic. It's involving a shape-shifting mud monster.
Yeah, and one of the most and Batman actually has one of the last lines. He says, "Sometimes there are no happy endings."
Yeah. How the origin of Clayface is really fucking cool. Now, again, I'm not even that familiar with what the fuck his origin is in the comics or various continuities, but I really remember the origin in the animated series. Which, I mean, I'm sorry, the animated series is basically the definitive Batman in my eyes. Of all different continuities, it's probably the best. But like this actor is like, what was it, like his face was all fucked up from some scar. He got this scarring or something and some stunt gone wrong. So he gets this like face cream, this experimental face cream that basically makes his skin like a putty that he can like sculpt, and like harden. And like he starts doing it too much and getting addicted to it, and he starts like melting without it. And then he gets like, he absorbs so much of it, he just turns into a full-on shapeshifter. Like that's basically his normal form, is looking like a mud monster. And like he has to actually be concentrating to look like a normal person.
If I recall correctly, the original creator of the experimental putty, like he was actually involved in some shady business, and Clayface was involved in it, but he had to cut him off, so he basically shoved a whole overdose of the cream on him and absorbed into his body.
Because of course he was involved in shady business, fucking Gotham. But yeah, like you would never see Clayface in the Nolan movies. Nolan could have made fucking 9 of those things. You wouldn't have seen Clayface because that's not realistic. Meanwhile, it's one of Batman's more interesting and fleshed out villains. Fleshed out, no pun intended. So he says it's a mud monster. Can you make cookies out of him? Well, Clayface is deathly afraid to go to Haiti because they'll eat him. Let's see. So he says, is that DSP? People are arguing about Rouge still. So he says alt-right are mostly manginas and pussy worshippers. A lot of them. You should have seen trad. I don't want to say trad Twitter, but like the trad guys on like the Uber trad. You know the ones I'm talking about. Like, they got some fucking medieval painting as their avatar or something on Gab. Usually Catholic or Orthodox. But they're rambling on about the Pornhub data dump from the other day. I guess somebody hacked into Pornhub and got all their, their analytics, following, I don't know how much data it really is. But they're analyzing it and they're going off about no porn. And I'm not going to sit here and act like porn is something good. by any stretch of the imagination. But something that constantly struck me is they're rambling on about what poor fucking victims these porn stars are. And it's like, get the fuck out of here with this. You sound like a faggy feminist, all right? These are grown-ass women who made their choices. Stop white knighting for literal whores. And yeah, I know some of them are victims of molestation or some shit when they were younger. A lot of them probably. But that makes them victims of that, not victims of raunchy McSmutbag who's filming them. Those are victims. Fuck off with that. Let's see.
This is all the information. This is all that pops up on the information search.
A lot of lesbian porn. A lot of people looking up to lesbian porn.
I wonder how this search is determined.
There's a lot of stepsister and stepmom shit going on too here.
And look at that. Cartoons actually have a few segments in the middle and on the edge.
Well, how about that? I'm surprised California it isn't cuckold. I would think over at California be cuck porn. I bet you if you break it down by city, you get a few cities and it's all about cuck porn. And of course, we know San Francisco. We know what category that'd be. Let's see. Somebody says, "We told you, Bechtloff. We told you. Told me what? Wait." Somebody says, "I want to see the Canadian map." Well, that they just up there. They just look at pictures of girls with like maple syrup all over them. True story.
Well, let's see. In this latest map from 2016, yeah, it's the top one: stepmom, lesbian, stepsister, and let's see. I don't know if cuckold is actually a category on this list yet.
It's not even. Somebody says, I'm still amazed gay didn't win anywhere. Well, if you're going state by state, I don't think it's going to win.
Overwatch is on this list.
Of course it is. Fucking autism, the game. Last retard sex hour, we discussed the rise in incest porn. Well, technically, stepmom and stepsister isn't really incest porn. I mean, it's not like the categories are mom and sister. Yeah, I'm sure if you went like down to cities and counties, you'd find gay taking a lot of areas.
I see. Mom itself is like the 10th category.
Oh,
the 5th category.
All right. I'm kind of sad that it's that high.
Or 1, 2, 3, 4.
I remember the one comedian. I think it was David Tell. I think it was David Tell that had this joke, but I always remember because it was funny as hell. And he goes, I got to ask you, all you people in the audience, just help me out here. Why is it when a chick calls a dude daddy in bed, that's just fine. Nobody bats an eye. But when I call a chick mommy in bed, suddenly I'm a weirdo. And he kind of pauses. He goes, I guess it didn't help that I was crying. People are arguing about Mike Enoch. I don't want to talk about Mike Enoch. Come on. Like, I already got the bad rep of being all about, all you do is shit on the TRS guys. It's like, I don't want to. It's just people keep bringing them up.
Oh, that should be on your wheel. Should we put that on your wheel of hate, or are they too insignificant?
I don't want. Well, we already got the alt-right in general, which I didn't make that wheel, by the way. I wouldn't have put the alt-right on there. I'd maybe put, I don't know. I'd have put maybe the alt-right, AUT is how I would have put it. I wouldn't say I hate the alt-right. I certainly have criticisms of them, but whatever. So he says the TRS guys shit on themselves. Well, that's known as their standard pool party. I mean, really, come on, like I said, I don't want to rehash all the TRS stuff and put all mad. Oh, you talk about TRS stuff all the time, you know. And they're like, you're just mad because they were mean to your friends, you know, Forney and Davis. And it's like, yeah, I don't like people mistreating my friends, first of all. That's kind of a human characteristic. I'm not sure if you fucking autists are aware of this. But most people don't like it when their friends are being smeared. But that's not the entirety of it. I mean, for fuck's sake, look at what the hell's going on over there. See, now I got all talking about it. I didn't want to talk about it. And y'all got me talking about it. Come on. Oh, by the way, folks, I did get the channel approved for monetization, so I'm going to try and get the super chats set up if y'all want to do that. You know, that's fine. Everybody's been asking me about super chat. I mean, I got the PayPal and the Patreon there. You could just send me shekels on there, but if you want to send me shekels on the super chat, I'm not going to argue with somebody who's trying to give me money. You know, I'm going to make it as easy as possible for you. And like I said, if you do enjoy the show, consider becoming a regular PayPal supporter. Consider hitting the PayPal or a Patreon supporter. Consider hitting the PayPal, sending me a shekel or two. It's greatly appreciated. Helps me keep doing what I'm doing. And as I've said numerous times, you should support the alternative media you enjoy. If that's me, send me a shekel or two once in a while. You know, or 3 or 4. Or 100. I'm not gonna turn it down. If it's somebody like Forney, if it's somebody like Davis, if it's somebody like, you know, Common Filth doing his nostalgia wound stuff, you know, whoever it is, if you're all about the butt stuff that jizz guys, send them some shekels. But support the alternative media you enjoy. Let's see. Somebody says Disarmored Skeptic. How is anybody taking those guys seriously? Remember the Candid thing? Weren't they like chilling for this like shitty company or some shit like that? Like all of them were doing it. Like fucking Armored Skeptic, Shoe, Sargon, Anal Atheist. And it was really underhanded stuff. It wasn't like typical ads. Like I didn't follow it entirely, but like there was all sorts of underhanded shit. I know Jim goes off about it all the time, Mr. Medicare. But those guys, and then obviously their fights, you know, Sargon, white doesn't exist. It's like, you know what? Yeah, the race is blurry around the edges. Nobody denies that, okay? Except maybe the most autistic of the fucking, you know, white nationalists. But race is blurry around the edges. Where exactly does one race start and the other end? It's hard to say. You know, but go look at a color wheel. Where does blue start? It's kind of hard to say, but nobody would argue blue doesn't exist.
And that's actually true on the genetic level because the trade from one race to another is actually a gradation.
Oh yeah, it's a. And then you add in, you know, it doesn't happen nearly as often as a lot of people in the alt-right fear, but obviously there's, you know, cross-pollination between races and shit like that. You know, I mean, go back far enough and you probably find you know, as pure white as you think you are, you probably, you know, if you go back far enough, you'll find a black guy in there somewhere or something. You don't know. Certainly here in America, you'll find tons of white people with Native American blood. That doesn't mean you're not white by any meaningful standard. It just obviously there's some gray area, quote unquote.
Yeah, and although I guess we could say the gray area indicates the sexual patterns of your ancestry, of course, if we want to get into that. Although it makes me actually, this whole topic actually makes me wonder how much of our, like, you know, what we're doing on the internet, what we're doing in live streaming, how much is that eventually going to transfer over into the real world? Because Medicare's whole like gesture attitude towards the internet, kind of makes you wonder if any of this actually translates into the real world.
Well, first of all, one could argue that on one level, everything we do matters in ways we can't imagine. Um, that sort of butterfly effect mentality, where I mean, imagine you go into your break room at work and you get the last Dr. Pepper, right? Well, or maybe the next guy goes in there and he wanted a Dr. Pepper and he was having a shitty day, and that was the last straw because there was no Dr. Pepper and he quits his job. So if you hadn't gotten that drink, he didn't quit his job that day. Kind of shit like that, just that sort of random stuff. So in some level, everything we do, you could argue, matters in ways we can't imagine. That ripple effect. Pulling my head out of my ass there, though, to really answer the question. I mean, I'm sitting there and I'm talking to, I'm talking to 46 people right now listening. A few hundred will listen, as time goes on. Listen to this live stream later. And I don't know that I'm shifting the world in a big way, but hopefully I'm entertaining people. That's kind of the first thing. This is primarily supposed to be entertainment, but also, make you think a little bit about stuff. And I mean, hell, if I move somebody closer towards Christianity, I've changed, their eternal destiny. So, don't have a big fucking head about it, but understand that everything you do can have really big effects. And you do what you can. You don't want to go all Sargon and fart huffing and I'm a thought leader and everyone take me seriously and all that bullshit. But try and make the world a better place as you're able. I think what Medicare does matters far more than he gives himself credit for. I mean, Medicare can chase motherfuckers off the internet. I mean, Medicare can shift public opinion, not in huge ways in the grand scheme of things, but in ways that I do think snowball. Let's see what we got going on in chat. People talking about Andrew Anglin. I've never actually seen a picture of Anglin, so I can't comment. Let's see. Somebody says, I think Sargon was the only one not shilling for Candid, but he sure white knighted for them when they got caught. Probably.
So I guess this guy's Andrew England. I guess he's some sort of nationalist in Europe.
I think he's the guy that does the Daily Stormer. That's Andrew England. I'm not
from the Southern Poverty Law Center. This is the picture they guess to give you.
Huh. Okay. Like,
is there something funny about him, or
I don't know. It just I don't know enough about the guy, so I'm not trying to pick a fight, but he looks like those fucking Nazi posters of the Untermensch. Like, he really does.
oh yeah.
And I mean, I'm not fucking Brad Pitt over here, so I'm hardly want to talk, but I mean, I don't know.
Oh yeah, speaking of the Southern Poverty Law Center, John Stossel actually made a video condemning them.
Oh, good on John. I like John Stossel. I've always liked John Stossel. I'm glad to see he kicking the SPLC in the balls. Andrew Anglin used to be a radical vegan lefty before he became a neo-Nazi. So many of them were. They're just racist liberals meme didn't come out of nowhere. Somebody says he looks like a pale Puerto Rican. Oh man, it does look like that Untermensch poster. Especially that one picture on the right here with the blue flag in the background there. Like he doesn't the one with the red flags behind him. He looks a lot better in that picture, but that closer one. And again, I mean, I'm not throwing stones. I'm hardly Brad Pitt over here, but come on. I'm also not claiming to be the Ubermensch. Bechtloff, have you seen the new YouTube guidelines? 4,000 total hours for watch time over 12 months and more than 1K subs, or your channel won't be monetized. Well, I got approved for monetization, so I guess I meet it, but I don't know. I don't know what the fuck's going on with YouTube. They don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Well, basically, they're just trying to maintain advertisement for their bigger names so they can ensure their advertisers that they have like a profit.
Basically, all that stuff Darkside Phil was talking about, how YouTube's fucked and how it runs itself, like he was right. Like, granted, he's an asshole. Darkside Phil's a fucking clown, and he certainly couldn't run YouTube any better, but he's right. He was kind of a canary in the coal mine to all this apocalypse shit.
Broken clocks, after all.
Yeah. Let's see, people talking about England in the chat here. Somebody says that's a terrible picture. It might be. I'm sorry, but when I saw that first picture Luke threw up, my first thought was like I was trying to be a little polite about it, but
well, it is from the Southern Poverty Law Center, so they're not trying. They wouldn't want to flatter him, of course.
That's true. I mean, I'm sure they dug through like every picture they could find to find the worst one of them. And again, like I said, I'm hardly an Ubermensch myself, so. Let's see. People saying fuck Israel. Man, I'm not particularly a big fan of Israel myself. I'm particularly not a big fan of having to fucking pay for Israel. Let's see. Going to the chat here. Going through the chat now. Let's see. Nothing really in the chat. Sweden is mostly gamma males. Okay. Bechtloff, how are the video games going? Any new amiibos? Progress on Breath of the Wild Odyssey? Well, I guess I technically have a new amiibo. I got the Mario cereal the other day, and it's got a little RFD chat in the box, or RFD chip in the box that it does something in Mario Odyssey. I think it gives you a few coins or something. I haven't purchased any new amiibos because I haven't purchased a whole lot of anything recently. I've been kind of broke. I got Sonic Mania because somebody actually got me like an eShop gift card for it. And I barely played it. I played Sonic Mania. I started a Tails run and I started a Knuckles run. And I haven't even gotten out of Green Hill Zone yet. I got one Chaos Emerald I got one Chaos Emerald in the Knuckles run, and I got one Chaos or two for Tails. I got a silver coin from Knuckles and shit. But I haven't beat the boss in Emerald in Green Hill Zone yet because I get to the end where it pushes me off the cliff, and I'm not entirely sure what to do yet. But in all fairness, I played Sonic Mania for less than an hour, all totaled. I can't imagine I played for even 40 minutes, probably it was close. Hell, I might not even have played for 30 minutes now I think about it. Well, there's two, okay, 10, whatever. Let's say it was between 30 and 40 minutes I played it. And then I went back to Breath of the Wild. And it's not that Mania isn't good. Trust me. Mania's right the fuck up my alley. I loves me some Genesis era Sonic. When it comes to Sonic the Hedgehog, I love Genesis era games. I love that kind of Sat AM continuity with the Princess Sally and the Freedom Fighters and shit like that. And I like nothing else about Sonic. I'm a big fan of those things. Modern Sonic games are okay at best. Like Sonic Heroes is in. I played it. I like the first level in Sonic Heroes. Shadow the Hedgehog has moments. I mean, the fucking story in those games are ass, but whatever. I kind of like that Sonic game on the DS that has Blaze the Cat in it. That's okay. Sonic Advance on the Game Boy is okay. Or the Game Boy Advance, I mean. But by and large, modern Sonic games are shit. Absolute shite. Team Sonic doesn't know what the fuck they're doing, and they haven't known what the fuck they were doing since, the Genesis lifespan ended. That said, though, Sonic Mania it's fantastic so far. The only real criticism I have of Sonic Mania, the only thing I would change so far is I would get rid of the level timer. There's no reason to have the 10-minute level timer except for fucking nostalgia. And I realize this is a big nostalgia wank fest in a lot of ways, but still, these are really big levels with a lot going on. And I'd like to just be able to explore them without having to worry about the fucking timer. I don't feel like the levels are really made with the 10-minute time limit in mind.
You gotta go fast.
Well, I mean, when you're playing as Sonic, sure, but like when you're playing as Tails and Knuckles in those classic era Genesis games, things are a little bit more about exploration. Yeah, I don't think the timer should be there. That said, though, I've barely played it. I've barely played Odyssey. I haven't even gotten to New Donk City yet. I have been playing the ever-loving dog shit out of Breath of the Wild. I managed to kill one of the rock monsters finally. It really wasn't worth it, though. Like, I wasted too many bomb arrows. I think I used like 5 bomb arrows, and those things are expensive as shit. And all I got was a bunch of fucking gemstones that I could have gotten hitting a bunch of ores with hammers along the side of a mountain. But it was kind of still worth it to have finally killed one of those fuckers. So yeah, Breath of the Wild is just fantastic. Like I said, I have Sonic Mania in the digital thing. I have Mario Odyssey and I have Mario versus Rabbids. It's going to be a very long time before I beat any of them because I'm going to be beating the shit out of Breath of the Wild. I mean, and I'm not even that far along story mode. Like I kind of started into the Rito village and into the Gerudo village and into the Zora domain. I kind of started those like story missions a little bit, but basically I just got them set up and ready to go for the most part. And then I'm just exploring a whole lot. I just love fucking exploring in that game. And I did bang out a bunch more shrines. Like I boosted my hearts and my stamina up some more. But I just fucking love exploring in that game. I love just wandering out into the fucking wilderness and fighting monsters and finding shit. It's fucking blast. It truly is a modern evolution of the original Zelda game. That just, here's the fucking world before you. Go out, fight monsters, save the world. Explore. Somebody's saying he wants in. Okay. Well, and then he logged off Skype. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what. Anybody wants in, message me. I'll bring you in as a caller. Message me on Skype, the Bechtloff, and I'll bring you in as a caller. He said, "Hey, one in." Yeah. If you're on again, message me again. But yeah, Breath of the Wild is fantastic so far. I gotta do some more shrines though. I should really boost my my health up. I love playing around with cooking, like cooking stuff, like because most things will replenish your hearts if you cook them. But some things have effects like they replenish your stamina wheel, or they make you temporarily faster, or they make you what else? They make you like temporarily more stealthy, or they give you could actually get like temporary hearts. Like let's say you have 5 hearts, you can cook a meal that temporarily gives you like 15 extra hearts or something. It's pretty fucking rad. Some things you get like monster parts when you kill the different goblins, and a lot of it like you can use it to make like elixirs and shit. But I actually find it's more useful to go to the various shops and sell them to them as raw materials, because you end up with so much of it. Like, the goblins, the boat goblins, or whatever the hell they're called. You end up with like horns and fangs of them. And after a while, you got like fucking 60 of them. Well, you go up to somebody where you can sell them, and like he'll give you like 3 rubies for just one of them. So you sell them all to him, and you boost up your rubies that way. No, don't call me. Use the link. Use the link. I sent you a link, dude. I sent him a link, and he's calling me. Don't call me. Use the link. Hop into it that way. But yeah, Breath of the Wild is a fucking blast. Like people are like, "Oh, should I get a Switch?" I'm like, "Dude, Breath of the Wild will keep you entertained for ages." Just it. And actually, early on in the game, you can cook the monster parts, and you end up with something called dubious food, which it even looks all pixelated, but it's supposed to be like gross and all, but it does replenish hearts. So even early on, when you can't find a lot of actual food, you can cook monster parts and eat it. Yeah, I sent you a link, dude. Here's the link. Follow the link.
Maybe he doesn't have Google Plus.
They kind of call me. Like, it doesn't work that way. Anybody else wants to call in, message me on Skype, bring you in. Oh, and I killed one of the big guardian robots. Not one of the ones that's walking around on the legs, but one of the ones that's like half busted and it's like in the ground. I managed to kill one of them. And again, it doesn't even give you that much stuff, because like you get like little bits of like screws and cogs and shit. But you can get them by
and I'm on
or in the busted ones. Hey, what's on your mind, caller?
Oh God, a few things. It's like that. Actually, a little bit proud of I've actually been a little bit proud of myself. I was part of a sequel to a book that's getting a lot of people pissed off on Amazon. Getting a lot of people saying that it's like a rape manual 101. It's called Camera Game by his author. His author called Goldman, or that's his pen name. And yeah, I did like the illustrations for the covers, but I'm just loving seeing like the Amazon reviews like saying this is like rape 101. It's horrible. but what I really like came on that I like wanted to like say, I guess, is just like about Ready Player One, because I remember you talking about it in, I don't know, a random live stream. And you said it's like you Bechtloff were asking, how do you make a story out of that? And it's like, well, the author did, and it was a pretty decent story, and I'm here excited for the movie.
Well, hang on. You got to put your headphones in, man.
Sure. Hold on.
Let me mute you till you do. Yeah, I got it. Huge echo when I talk there. But it just looks like the story, and I don't know. Maybe there's interesting things going on in the world around him, but in the movie, it looks like the story is like people go into a video game when they become pop culture icons, and here's them watching them play the video game and stuff. And it's like, that's not interesting, because all that does to me is remind me of like better movies and shit I could be watching. Like, I'm not like, oh, it's like, oh, look, Freddy Krueger. You know Freddy Krueger, right? It's like, yeah. And I also know there's like fucking 10 movies of his that I could watch instead. Is it 10 movies? How the fuck many Freddy movies? I should know that off the top of my head. I'm such a Freddy nerd. 7, and Freddy vs. Jason is 8. And then it's 9 movies. And 9 Freddy movies. Yeah, it's like it just reminding me of the 9 movies I could watch instead. I don't know. Maybe it has a decent story to it. I don't know. But nothing about the trailer makes me want to go see it. The trailer is just fucking insulting. I'm like, hey, get it? Remember this thing? This is a thing you remember. Look, it's a Back to the Future car. It's like, yeah, I could be watching fucking Back to the Future movies. Hell, I could go read there's a Back to the Future comic book IDW is doing right now. I've heard good things about. I could go read that instead of watching this movie, if you can call it a movie. Like, I don't know. I didn't read the book. Maybe it has something to it, but it doesn't look like it's got something to it in that commercial.
Oh, look, we're here. We have the characters we have Lara Croft, Overwatch, Chung-Li, zombies, and I think, oh yeah, they're from Mortal Kombat.
Well, at least it's the good Lara Croft when she had the blue tank top and big titties.
I'm looking at the close-up.
Well, you can't put the modern Lara Croft in there. Nobody would recognize her because it's just generic, grim and gritty girl. Overwatch. Overwatch is cancer. All right. So, anything else on your mind there, caller? I'm gonna unmute you. Hopefully, you put your headphones in. Okay, I can't unmute you. You have to unmute yourself. Anybody else want to call in? I got no other callers. We've been going on for a while. I might wrap this up. About an hour and a half. Some people making fun of Player One in the chat. I know what that is.
But take like no, as I was saying, the way that the story goes, the best way I could describe it is like Harry Potter, but in a cyber universe. And the way that you describe it as them playing a video game, but it's actually like, no, they're after a fortune, and the stakes in real life are high because there's this big corporation, and you see in the trailer, the IOI, that they hunt, that they try to hunt like the people who go for the treasures, and they will kill them and are very ruthless about it. So it ends up being an interesting story, and I heard about the book right before I watched the trailer. That's the fact that it's Steven Spielberg. It's like, yeah, I'm interested to see what he does with it.
Do you know the premise of? Do you know like the greater world premise of the movie?
The greater world premise of the movie. You mean that the movie has like its own universe?
Well, no, I mean, what's happening? Like the state of the world is like it looks a post-apocalyptic or something, and this virtual world is like their only means of having a real life.
Well, artistic layman, did you read the book yourself?
No, that's why I'm asking.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, the world is mostly apocalyptic. It's basically like, what if global warming were real, and let's say that the Great Recession of the Obama years extended for another 30 years into the future, and just everything got worse. Like oh yeah, like imagine it like this. Like imagine like the worst case scenario as described by Aaron Clarion, Enjoy the Decline, or Stephen Molyneux, how he was always saying about the collapse imminent, prepare yourself accordingly. That's like the worst case scenario that's going on in the world. So yeah, it is post-apocalyptic, but the only thing that's left is just this giant MMORPG. And this giant MMORPG, like the creator of it, that's like this combination of, like a Notch with Bill Gates, with Steve Jobs, the best I can describe him. He's the reason that he puts all this like 80s shit is because the guy was a huge 80s nerd. Like in the novel, he even has like his holy trilogies, which are Mad Max, Indiana Jones, Star Wars, both trilogies, and Indiana Jones, excluding Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Well, like I said, I mean, it's entirely possible there is a good movie in here. It just, I look at the trailer, and it just feels like a big old wank fest.
It wouldn't be the first time that trailers prevented me from going to see a movie, which turned out to be good later on the road.
With regard to it being like a wank fest, I mean, it kind of is, but it's like the author, Ernest Cline. It's like he did, the initial idea was a giant wank fest, but he actually like made a story around it. And the reason I like the novel, and the reason I'm like liking it, almost defending it on this, is because it's like it's like, okay, that's the inspiration. The inspiration is in fact a giant whack fest, just like 400 pages of, hey, remember this? But then it's like the author realized, oh shit, now I actually have to rewrite, edit, fix my characters, all that shit that goes into making an entertaining story that your audience will like. So that's that's the reason I like wanted to see it. It's like, how is this story gonna work? It was my big question, and it did. Like like the main character, like the main character is this teenager that's like a geek in real life, but like a badass in this computer world. Not just in his computer world, but because he's trying to get the fortune. He and a bunch of other people that they're called the Egg Hunters because they're hunting after the Easter eggs. It's shortened to Gunter. And these Gunters, and these Gunters, they become obsessed with everything that the creator of this MMORPG, his name's James Halliday, that everything that he loved, they try to love and study and play too. Like, and this kid is like just one of those super obsessive guys. Like he gets like, let's say, really good at 80s games like Pac-Man, for example. And each world that leads to it is not world, sorry. The Easter egg is behind a bunch of gates, and each of those gates requires a bunch of keys. Now let's say like how he gets like the first key. He looks to clues in a big diary that James Halliday left away for anyone to read, and it leads him into a world, into one of the many worlds in it, and he has to actually reenact like line by line scenes from the movie War Games. Then when he does everything successfully, he plays a really old video game. And the good illustration there. He plays a really old video game against a wizard, and that's how he gets like the first key. Like again, War Games. Like, oh, dude, remember this '80s movie? But it's like good because this is gonna lead the next plot forward. Like hey, remember this is like the next. Like you guys know Harry Potter. You know how Harry Potter? It's like it just unfolds little by little by little. There's like one extra clue, one extra bit of knowledge, one thing pushing the plot forward. That's what these pop culture things do. So that's what I love, just seeing how he made it work.
I have mixed feelings about your description, but visually the trailer looks intriguing to me.
Well, like I said, I'll grant you that you've explained it to a point that looks more interesting than the trailer. But I don't know. it also sounds like it's like one of the Channel Awesome anniversary movies, but it has the goal to take itself seriously. I it could be good. I don't know. You read the book, I didn't, so you are I can't argue with you too much on it, but
and of course Steven Spielberg can actually do something good with it, of course.
It's definitely not something I'm probably going to see in the theater. Let me put it that way. I might on demand it. Back in my day, we had actual video stores we went to rent it, but I might on demand it or something. But I don't think I don't see myself going to the theater for something like this. It's funny you mentioned Harry Potter because I was just thinking about Harry Potter the other day because I flipped through the channels and I found part of a Harry Potter movie, right? And it dawned on me like I don't remember any of this. And because I had seen every Harry Potter movie in the theater, and I liked Harry Potter movies. I liked them. I thought they were good popcorn flicks. But as I think back to them, this is kind of off topic from the Ready Player One, but Harry Potter, like I can't remember like almost anything about those movies. like I'm sitting there like, oh yeah, they were good movies. Well, what happened in the third movie? I don't know. like I can't remember shit about them. And well, I was thinking
that tends to happen when the movies are being released over a course of many years.
Well, it's also, I mean, like I remember the big story elements of the progression of the overall narrative, but I don't remember the quote unquote plot of each movie. And like I was thinking, like if you were going to reboot that, you could compress what are there like a dozen of those fucking movies, something like that. You could compress them into a trilogy easily. Like there's a whole lot of fucking nothing happening in those movies. Like I'm literally watching a scene from one of these movies and I'm like, I don't remember any of this. I think it was like a high school. It was like one of the dances or something in their school. And I'm just sitting there like, I don't remember half these fucking characters. I don't remember this scene. And like I said, I saw all those movies in the theater.
A common complaint about the Harry Potter movies that there's far more interest in the teenage high school drama angst than the actual great drama of Voldemort returning.
Those movies could kind of like not right away for fuck's sake, like let things sit for a while, Hollywood. But that is a movie series that could really use a reboot down the line. Because I bet you could streamline that into a really solid trilogy. Because, I mean, there's basically 3 movies worth of shit that happens. And the rest feels like filler side stories.
But as for Ready Player One, I'm sure it'll be. I mean, a lot of sci-fi, a lot of CGI effects are going into it, and Spielberg is going into it. So, if it has a good review, I'll check it out.
All right. Well, nobody. Oh, maybe we got one other caller. Oh yeah, that was Luke telling me to click on his icon. Yeah, so it looks like we don't have any other callers, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up. Folks, if you enjoy the stream, if you enjoy the show, if you enjoy my content, do consider hitting me up on the PayPal, the Patreon, sending me a shekel or two. That's greatly appreciated, especially this week.
And, but one thing.
Go ahead.
No, what you're saying about the, I don't know, I'm like internet connection is a little wonky, but what you're saying about Harry Potter, I have forgotten everything too. Like it's entertaining in the moment and it's fun how it unfolds. But yeah, and actually Ready Player One kind of has that because I told you like a specific part, but I realized, oh holy shit, I just forgot some important things that led to that. So it's gonna have that same exact thing. It's gonna be fun but kind of forgettable. And Star Wars, like I didn't even watch The Last Jedi because I just realized the Force Awakens. I remember how I felt. I felt so empty. I felt nothing. at the climax. Like everyone say, you guys say how crap it is, and maybe you get angry. I remember it's like, you know, the Rey's fighting Kylo Ren, Darth Autism as you call him, and then they blow up the planet-sized Death Star, and my face is just blank, and it's like
I wouldn't even say I was angry so much as you gotta mute you. I wouldn't say I was angry so much as, like, you know, I just was looking at like, what is this faggot shit? And there were parts, there were glimmers of an actual fucking movie in Force Awakens. As I said, I could take Force Awakens and I just chop it up a little bit, rearrange it a little bit, and you'd have a really good movie. It's as simple as this. Change the nature of the good guys, bad guys relationship. There's no reason that the good guys should still be calling themselves the Resistance. They're in charge now. There's no reason the not Empire should be this powerful. They should be like this tiny little terrorist group. Their plan should be more like surgical strikes instead of uber mega Death Star jacking off New Hope over here. Get rid of Rey entirely. She is the shittiest character in the entirety of these movies. Although, actually, I think the fucking Asian mechanic is, from what I've heard, worse. Point is, she's a non-character. She's shit. She's got to go. Focus on like a buddy cop story of Mace Windu and the Jewish pilot dude, and focus more on Darth Autism and his relationship to his parents. And again, like I said, rearrange how the villains and heroes are portrayed, you know, the two camps respectively. And you got a pretty damn good flick. You have pieces of a really good movie in Force Awakens. By and large, though, it's shit. It's derivative. It's ass. It's only outdone in shit, apparently, by Last Jedi. But I didn't see anything after Force Awakens. I didn't see Rogue One, and I heard good things about it. Because it's like, no Star Wars. I just sat through 4 shitty movies in a row. You don't get a 5th. Period.
Well, I am like curious about the Han Solo movie, because that's kind of a movie I've hoped for like, well, since I was like 8. So it's probably going to be crap, but it's like I wanted that, just like I wanted an Avengers since around the same time. But when I saw like but what you're saying, what you're saying about the little glimmers of a good movie, what I hated was the perfect things that it got. Okay, like the score, the music. Yeah, I actually rock out to a couple tracks from that. I go to the gym and pump it. I go to the gym and lift weights like to the March of the Resistance. And some of like, you know, the location, the location shootings, cinematography, it got so perfect for something so flat, so flat, and that's why it's because of what it got right and what the disappointment it got. That's what made it just so much worse.
I argue it's worse than the prequels. Force Awakens is worse than the prequels. The prequels fail because the prequels try. Force Awakens, it's like, you know, it's not even wrong. You know, it doesn't even attempt an answer. You know, it's that old joke where somebody tries to bullshit his way through an answer on a test, and the teacher responds, "This is not right. This is not even wrong. You have said nothing." That is what Force Awakens is. You know, this is not a bad movie. This is not even a movie. That is Force Awakens. This is not a good movie. This is not even a bad movie. This is not a movie. I don't give Force Awakens an F. I give it an incomplete.
Yep. And speaking of like forgetting things, I realized that I keep on I look at this poster and I realize that not Yoda orange alien thing. It's like, oh shit! Oh yeah, she was a character. I forgot about her until I looked at that poster that Luke put up.
You know, I read like it was apparently in some sort of Star Wars fucking like book or something. Like not book, but like, you know, like they'll sell like books that's like this is the specs of the Death Star, shit like that, you know? Well, apparently one of the books coming out around Force Awakens had like specs and on like the weapons and shit. And Darth Autism's lightsaber, like the reason his blade is all jaggy and fucked up like that is because I guess like lightsabers have a crystal in them that powers the energy blade, and his is cracked. That should have been stated in the movie because that is a brilliant fucking metaphor for his character. First of all, it kind of expands how a lightsaber works with a semi-plausible fucking half-ass tech explanation. Just enough to feel immersive without being enough that you can pick it apart. The perfect kind of technobabble in a science fiction movie. But it also reflects his character so brilliantly. There's no reason they shouldn't have put that in a movie, but they were too busy putting fucking vagina power in the movie or whatever else they had going on in there. I don't know. Like I said, I got somebody else wanting to hop in, so I'm going to boot you out. Thanks for calling.
And thank you for letting me in. Bye-bye.
Yep. Yeah. Like I said, I didn't go see Rogue One. I'm not going to go see Rogue One. But I certainly didn't go see fucking Last Jedi, nor am I going to. Because like I said, 4 shitty movies in a row there, Star Wars. I'm done with you. I will not go to the theater for you ever again. We're done. We're done. It's over. Grayscale, what's on your mind? Apparently nothing.
Hey, can you hear me now?
There
Yep, we can hear you. What's on your mind?
I want to jump in about Star Wars. To the previous caller who was looking forward to seeing the Solo movie, save yourself the time unless it's one of those MST3K type things. Because basically, have you heard about the goings-on behind the scenes for it?
No, I purposely tried to not hear about Star Wars. And it's difficult. It's difficult. I often learn things about Star Wars against my will. I am frequently my mind is information raped by Star Wars trivia on a regular basis.
Does this poster have something to do with it?
Well, technically, that's not an official poster. At least now Disney is denying that it is. There isn't an official poster yet or an official trailer yet because apparently they're still doing reshoots for a movie that comes out in 4 months.
Yeah, I was going to say, is this shit supposed to come out in the summer?
Yeah, it's supposed to come out going up against Deadpool 2, Incredibles 2, and Avengers Infinity War, all in the space of about 3 weeks. Here's what happened, though. They had the original directors. It was the same guys who did the Lego movies, the Jump Street movies, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. I forget, but apparently they do like improv comedy and shit. And they fired those guys 3 weeks before principal shooting was completed, and then hired someone else. I think it was Ron Howard, basically to reshoot the entire movie. And now with Last Jedi having done $500 million less business than Last Jedi, let me put it this way: from what I've heard, Last Jedi is already closed in China. It opened on January 5th.
There's 2 reasons like the Chinese hated it. Number one, the Chinese they were saying that like the people in it are too ugly.
People are ugly. The color palette's ugly.
When the Chinese want to watch American and Western movies, they want to see pretty white people.
Well, they want to see Matt Damon for some fucking reason.
They are all about that. They're like, where the pretty white? They are all about where the white women at over in China. They're like, where the pretty white people at? And also they're like, this is insulting to our intelligence.
Well, that and the supposed Asian fanbait chick is Vietnamese, ugly, useless, and they pair up with a black guy. You couldn't be more culturally tone deaf if you tried.
Yeah, they're not a big fan of the Nogs over there.
Ooh, did you
not a big fan?
Layman, put up the Chinese Force Awakens poster versus the American one. You'll see Finn's shrunk down to like Yoda size. So
Well, that
Still-
sounds like a disaster. That movie's supposed to come out in like fucking May.
Oh, which one was it again? The Yoda,
the Chinese Force Awakens poster. Put it next
Yeah, I
to the
remember
American.
that. They got Finn all out of there. Like,
No, he's there. He's just really, really small. So the
yeah, not a lot of Tyler Perry movies shown in China.
I don't know.
Oh
Not
wow!
transit.
Look at this. He's pretty much gone.
I couldn't even see where he was at first in the Chinese trailer.
Yeah, so I don't think so. Despite having done over $1 billion in business, I don't think Disney is actually happy with the results of The Last Jedi. Never mind the less than. Is it still less than 50% on Rotten Tomatoes?
Oh yeah, it was at 56 last I checked.
I thought it dipped below 50 at some point,
Oh,
but
did it? Maybe. I mean, it shouldn't be at 5%. Who the fuck's upvoting it? What are you doing with your life that you're upvoting fucking Last Jedi? Like
you're getting a paycheck from Disney and you don't want to lose it. I mean, seriously, how many people does Disney employ these days?
See, this is what I bitch at the Star Wars fans for. And in all fairness, they're starting to wise up. It took you like fucking 3 movies too long, but y'all are starting to wise up to how bad this franchise is now. It's like, look, I get it. You like Star Wars. It's fine. It's not necessarily my cup of tea, but okay, fine. But don't stop supporting it when it sucks is all I'm saying. Like, yeah, I like Star Trek. I don't go see J. Abrams' Star Trek. I'm not going to go tell you that you should go watch Star Trek 5. Like, it's really good. I'm not going to tell you that because that's bullshit. I love superheroes. Love it. I didn't go see Justice League because I knew it was going to suck balls. Like, and I just was like, life's too short. I'm not going to fucking do that to myself. So all y'all that went to go see fucking Last Jedi, you were wrong. Okay, you shouldn't have done that. What are you doing with your life that you're upvoting Last Jedi on fucking Rotten Tomatoes? What is wrong with you?
Well,
what is wrong with 49% of you?
So it is under 50%. Good to hear.
It should be under 5%. All right, it should be like the only people that upvote. Mark Hamill doesn't like Last Jedi. Okay,
I don't think Mark Hamill.
Mark Hamill isn't part of that 49%. All right, Mark Hamill can barely hide his open contempt for the Disney Star Wars movies.
Yeah, I think it was Razorfist who said, "I can't wait until Episode 9 is in the canon. His contract is completely over with Disney. Just to hear what he has to say after that."
Do you remember when, like, I don't know what you call it. It wasn't quite stand up, but like Kevin Smith used to do these things where he'd talk at like colleges or something, and he even made DVDs of them where it's almost like stand up, but it's just him telling stories of Hollywood. Kathy Griffin used to actually do that kind of shit back in the day too. But they were usually pretty entertaining stories, as when somebody's kind of on the outskirts of mainstream Hollywood, they're far enough out that they don't mind telling the dirt, but they're close enough in that they see the dirt. You know what I mean? Well, I get the feeling like Mark Hamill's going to put out one of those. Mark Hamill's just going to go around doing a stage show talking about like what faggots everybody involved in the new Star Wars is. Like that's probably going to be his next project. Just going around talking about like I signed on to that shit and then I saw the script and I called my lawyer and I said, "Is there any way out of this contract?" And he told me no.
Though I did want to pitch a theory and see how you react to it, just because I know you don't like The Force Awakens, but as near as I can tell, the core problem, the reason it felt so off, despite New Hope rehash aside, is the fact they basically split the hero and the protagonist into 2 characters. Because
how do you mean?
I mean that Finn is the one who actually does the heroic stuff. The impetus for the entire movie is basically he panics. He panics in a combat situation, decides to run away from the First Order, breaks out a pilot in order to do that, and that sets off a chain of events that leads to the plot.
Finn is the main character of that movie.
Yeah, and And
I know they want to tell you that Rey is the main character, but Rey is not a character.
Well,
okay, Rey is closer to a plot device. Rey is as much of a character as the Millennium Falcon is. Okay, she is a thing that does play a role in the movie, but she's not a character. Like the little butt plug robot is more of a character. Actually, the robots are generally more characters anyways in Star Wars, but like she is as much a character as the lightsaber she holds.
Well, doesn't the lightsaber she holds actually provide a very, very plot important flashback? It also
she provides plot important points, but she's not a character. Okay, I'm not convinced. Like when she gets struck down, she's not going to have a spirit a force ghost, because I don't think she has a soul. She's not a person.
Yeah, pretty much. But she's the one who winds up with the lightsaber and the force powers and the super special destiny, which is where I'm going with this. Basically,
you know what would make an awesome fucking twist is if she just turned out to fucking be the Force. Or something like that. Like if she just turned out like she's just some sort of manifestation of the Force, and she was like she's just a manifestation of the light side of the Force, and she was never a person.
That's
like,
significant.
That would actually make sense.
That would make significantly more. That would make significantly more sense.
And I just thought of that off the top of my head, like literally just now. I wrote a better Star Wars movie off the top of my head.
Yeah,
than whatever episode 9's gonna be.
Yeah, I mean, basically the only non-retarded end I can think to this trilogy is basically that that Kylo Ren and Rey do some kind of Ghost in the Shell type merging into one being that balances the Force. You know, he's the dark, she's the light, yada yada yada. Just because basically the Last Jedi just burned all the bridges forward and back. I mean, let's see. Han, Luke, and Leia are all dead. Leia was killed off by reality, but she's still dead. Admiral Boxwine is dead. Admiral Akbar is dead. The First Order's Snoke is dead. Hux has been reduced to a bad punchline. There's no one left except Rey, Rey and Kylo, and she's already beaten him twice. There was no way to make
Carrie Fisher wasn't actually dead at this point. I'd say episode 9 should start with like Carrie Fisher waking up and finding Han Solo in the shower, like fucking J.R. Ewing in Dallas.
Well,
that's how episode 9 should start. Just like, those other 2 movies didn't happen. Don't worry about it. We're sorry.
No, I mean, if you just want to cut off episode 8, you could just have Finn waking up after surgery, and it turns out that the whole thing was just some weird Jacob's Ladder delusion he was having while they were putting his spine back together.
Snoke turns out to be Jar Jar.
That would be hilarious.
That Asian mechanic character isn't even real. Just something Finn thought up because he has an Asian girl fetish.
or it's like in Kill Bill, where she was actually secretly creeping on him while he was in the coma, and his subconscious mind incorporated that in. But to get back to the sorry, do you mind if I keep going on about this?
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, to get back to the point I was saying, basically, Finn is he's the one who does the actual character progression stuff. I mean, his first the thing that drives the plot is his desire to run away, and then in the end, he picks up a lightsaber. He picks up a lightsaber to try and defend Rey from Kylo Ren, who is ridiculously powerful, and I mean, he can't have gone into that knowing he wasn't going to get his ass completely destroyed.
Yeah, Finn is the closest thing to a character. Well, that's not true. On the good guy side, I guess, a closest thing to a character. The Jew pilot dude's pretty cool. Like him and Finn had a cool little bromance. Like a little buddy cop story between the two of them would have been interesting, but I don't know. Like I said, Rey as a character's got to go. All right, that is that is like, let's never let that actress get work again. Okay. Like, no, man, that's no.
Well, I have a theory that there's a less bad draft of the script sitting on a hard drive somewhere where basically Poe and Finn don't get separated when the TIE fighter crashes. So it's actually Poe. So it's actually Poe's flying the Millennium Falcon when they're going through the gutted Death Star. You know, the guy you used the title crawl and the subsequent escape sequence to set up as an expert pilot. Maybe that's why it's being piloted so expertly.
Can we make it like I don't know. You probably can't edit it that way. It was just it'd be like it turned out Rey was never there. It was just a figment of Finn's imagination the whole time. And like every time people were talking to Rey, they were talking to Finn.
No, unfortunately, I don't think that would be possible. But I was thinking that if they were actually trying to set up Rey, Finn, and Poe as Han, Luke, and Leia, you notice how Han, Luke, and Leia always have scenes together, and I don't think those in the Force Awakens, at least, I don't think those three characters are ever in the same place at the same time.
Man, Star Wars is so faggy anymore. It was never that good, but man, is it faggy now. Like, I have a cousin who is such a huge Star Wars fan. I mean, he was defending the prequels and shit like that. And like, I met him for, I met up with him on Christmas Day, and I thought like, oh man, he's gonna be probably rambling on about how great the new Star Wars is and shit. And even he's like, yeah, I saw it once. I didn't want to ever see it again. Star Wars is bad now. Like, even he's just like, fuck this. Fuck this.
Though I did come up with a theory for why The Last Jedi is so incredibly bad, or two of them actually.
Okay.
One is that Rian Johnson just hates J.J. Abrams and went out of his way just to kill every plot line that Abrams set up. And the other is that this is 4D chess on Abrams' part, so if he follows through on his threat of putting fags in Star Wars when the Chinese deny a theatrical release, he'll already have managed expectations downward enough that people won't be surprised.
Somebody in the chat just says Kylo Ren will be defeated by having a character that looks like Lena Dunham force her ass onto his face.
Wait, I thought Lena Dunham had that cameo where Luke milked her. Or was it Amy Schumer?
Oh man. Oh, that was funnier than it had any right to be. All right, man. I think I'm going to wrap this up because there's only so much I can talk about Star Wars before it starts to hurt my soul.
All right. Sorry for taking up so much of your time. Talk to you guys later.
Yeah, thanks for calling in. All right. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up, guys. Like I said, if you enjoy the stream, if you enjoy the content I put out, do please consider checking out the PayPal and the Patreon. That helps me keep doing what I'm doing. And yeah, that's about all I got for. Oh, good Lord. Yeah, that's about all I got for right now. Poor Mark Hamill. Sure, he died a little inside when he filmed that movie. That's about all we got for tonight, folks. I want to thank you all for listening. Bechtloff out.